Hey, what's up there, virtual world? It is your favorite coach, Chris. It's been a long time since I had one of these conversations with Chris. Long story, long journey. I've got a new software. I've had a new computer to use the new software, and this is our official first live, and that's why we're a little late getting to it now. So I want to thank my guest, Dan Stewart, for being the first and for us working through these bugs together. And if you don't know Dan, he's one of my favorite people. And he's the founder of Happy Grasshopper, a serial entrepreneur, founded several companies. And I love this. He's a 7 times founder, 4 times failure, 4 times Inc. 500, 5,000 recipient, right? So I think that's an incredible resume. Again, one of my favorite people. And I'm really excited about what Happy Grasshopper has going on and what we're going to be doing together. So thanks for coming on with no agenda and having this conversation with us. So welcome, Dan. Yay.
Hey, whoa. Yeah. Go me. Yay. Chris, thank you so much for inviting me to join you.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Tell us I love your hat. Man. I have to say, man, I love your hat. That's awesome.
Thanks for sending it to me.
You're welcome. You are welcome.
Everybody asks about it too. Like, oh, what is that? Is that a sports team? I'm like, well, no. If developing business relationships was a sports team, this would be the Super Bowl recipient. So, I call you the relationship guru, and it's so funny because when I say that, people automatically think romantic relationships, right? But the reason, my history going back with you, Dan, is when I used to run a very successful Keller Williams office, and in a world of mediocre kind of drip campaigns and follow-up systems that exist that prepackaged in these CRMs that everybody has, there was kind of like a little needle in a haystack, right? A little light at the end of the tunnel. That was Happy Grasshopper, where you kind of were super passionate about nurturing and cultivating the relationships that we already have and created a great way to do that. So, I know me personally, I just launched my Happy Grasshopper after all these years. You guys wrote a campaign we launched. I got a 68% open rate. So I tell you, that's phenomenal. So Dan, give us a little history and background on, how you arrived at this place and, what you did, what you've got going on and what we could look forward to.
Okay, cool. So, wow, man, that's a long story because you see all this gray in my hair, right?
We got time, man.
So, you know what? I think I'm a lot like most people. Many people who are in a sales career, they didn't necessarily say, I want to grow up and be in sales, right? It just kind of happened. And in my life, that was very much the scenario. I fell in love with college. I wanted to marry my college sweetheart. I had no idea what kind of career I wanted to have. And, as we started a family, there was an economic need. And everybody was like, oh, you should go into sales. But in my head, I had all these issues about what salespeople are, right? Pushy, manipulative, fast talking, like only care about a dollar. And I didn't want to be that guy. So when I started my sales career, all that internal stuff meant that I wasn't set up for success. I had to do a lot of unlearning along the way. And one of the strategies that I picked up was I need to show up as a human being first. Rather than just that commission hungry sales guy, I need to show up as a human being in the lives of the people that I serve, quite frankly. So, over my career, I heard phrases that we all know, like the fortune's in the follow-up and your network is your net worth, right? We've all heard these sort of things. And yet it can be a real challenge to understand exactly what that means when it comes down to action steps. Like, what do I do? How do I turn my network into my net worth? I'm confused. And what I realized was that, no matter whether somebody was ready to buy now or buy years from now, if I could build a real authentic relationship with them, I was in a position to get all sorts of referral business on the way to doing business with them. So, in my career, like you mentioned, having multiple companies, one of them, our average sales cycle was about 3 years. And most of what we do every day at Happy Grasshopper started with me trying to figure out, how do I stay in touch with prospects for 3 years without running out of stuff to say? Like, how do you even do that? So that's my background. That's where it all comes from. And today we support users in all 50 states, Canada, and a few other countries around the world We're currently nurturing about 26 million contacts. So we have the advantage of a really huge data set to look at in terms of what's working and what's not working. So it gives us a pretty unfair advantage in the market.
Again, I love the data, and it's funny that you say that because as I've subscribed to it, because not anything that I'm a fan of, I'm a client first, right? So everybody I'm talking to is talking about, well, does it work in conjunction with my CRM? And I'm like, yeah, your CRM's your CRM. You're still going to want to have your communication go from your CRM to Happy Grasshopper. And then I say, they've got the data, they've got the tools, they figured out the technology. They're getting these messages out. They're getting delivered on a higher level. They're getting opened on a higher level. They're getting read on a higher level. And my favorite thing, they're getting interactions on a higher level. So the only thing that the user has to do is respond to these messages. And so I think there's something to that, right? Honestly, my CRM, I use Kartra as my main CRM, and even my broadcast messages to myself sometimes go to the spam filter. So it's kind of the deliverability, the openability, the readability, and then the respondability. That's almost kind of that's kind of like the four-legged table there. That's you got lucky. You've definitely figured it out. So I appreciate the fact of the data, doing the research, and being able to take advantage of that.
So you mentioned your open rate.
Yeah,
60 something percent. You said, right? That's huge.
Yeah, my first email went out was a 68% open rate. It's dropped down a little bit, but it's still. I always tell people anything in a double digits is a great deal. Look, over 10% is good. Over 20% is great. So if you're averaging, over 30, 40%, that's incredible for open rates.
Well, system wide across all our members, we're at 38.4%. So, you're one of those that's higher than that initially. And I'm sure it's because you were sending a message to people who know you, right? So, email is important, guys. And yes, I know what year it is, right? Email is still the highest ROI in all of marketing. It should be part of your marketing cadence, but it shouldn't be the only thing, right? So email, text message, ringless voicemail drop, social media, handwritten cards, like those are all part of the landscape that you need to consider a messaging strategy for. And, when we talk about data, the reason you were able to get that open rate is because of all the studying we've done about what's worked in the past so we can apply it for the future. And yet, did you have to learn any of that? Absolutely not. We took the time to learn what all that data meant, and then we put it to work for you. So that's something that I think it's overlooked, right? Because everything sends messaging today. You mentioned Kartra, Follow Up Boss, Top Producer, Boomtown, Commissions Inc., Real Estate Webmasters, Chime. Blah, blah, blah. And there's so many great systems out there. There really, truly are. Like, we live in a golden age of technology. There's so much great tech out there. And all of it has the capability of sending content. That's great, right? The struggle is that sending isn't enough. It's easier than ever to send a message. It's harder than ever to send a message that people are going to read and respond to, right? So that's why we need to have a staff of writers that carefully prepare our content in line with what the data is saying. So I kind of went down a bunny trail there, Chris, but
we could talk about, we could nerd out all day on this stuff. Being a coach, my clients are small and medium business owners. A good portion of them are in the real estate business, since that's my background. And I'll tell you, the first challenge is just being able to use a system or a technology to be able to do this, right? Some people aren't even sending it out, even things are pre-written for them. The next challenge is, this doesn't sound like me. I don't want to put the work into editing it and writing it and all that kind of stuff, and then just getting in there to push the button. So, there's different groups of people out there. There's people that struggle with the technology. There's people that struggle with the actual creativity, coming up with the content and sending it out there. And I just, what's really cool, what you guys have done is on a very foundational level, like Chirp, for example, it's like, hey, we've written a bunch of messages that work for people that know you. And I tell my people, these are the 3 rules. Here's the people that you want on your list. You sign up for a site license under my Chirp account. You get 250 people to pump in there. How do you decide? Number 1, do they know you by name and face if they see you, right? Do they know what you do? right? Do they know what you do and like and respect that? Number three, will they refer you or think of you if you stay on their mind? If you check those three boxes, that's an ideal client for what Sharp has to offer. And it's going to be these kind of human interest stories, some lighthearted, data. Like, so you're hitting you're hitting the funny bone, you're hitting the human interest, you're positioning them as an expert because, hey, here's a valuable article that I came across. And it really does everything for you it doesn't give you an ability to edit. It just gives you an ability to choose and rate and send it out. So I think
it actually does give you the ability to edit.
Yeah.
So yeah. I mean, you absolutely. If you want to edit a message, you have the power and control.
You just can't write your own. You can edit a message, but you can't write your own, right? So you can't. But you figured it all out. And you said it. I think this kind of where we have emails go out, and the reason why email is great is because it's the postcard of today, right? Postcards typically used to come in your mailbox. Oh, great, Dan sold another house. Boom, in the garbage, right? But now with the email, people see that you come in, they're in your inbox, they read your subject line, maybe they don't look at it, but they know if they have a need, it's easy to go back and search. That's why I say, like, even with me, I'm like, I know that there was a tag sale person in my email somewhere, right?
Let's slow this down a little bit. There's a key point here, right? Because you mentioned postcards.
Sure.
Right. So from an advertising perspective, there's a finite number of ways you can get your message out there. From a communication perspective, there's a finite number of ways you can get your messages out there. Some of them are one-to-one, right? If I call you, if I'm sitting down with you personally, face-to-face, we're having one-to-one communication. Others are one-to-many. You and I are having this conversation now, but who knows how many people are going to watch it? That's one-to-many. So the reason email is so powerful in 2022 is it's got the ease of one-to-one communication and the scope of one-to-many communication. Okay, so I can write a message that looks like it only is written for you. It feels personal, it connects, it's me and it just feels right.
Sure.
Yet I can send that to hundreds or thousands of people. I can have a much broader reach. Now, that's a key differentiator there, because if you think about social media, for example, that's also a one-to-many media. Like, this is being broadcast to who knows how many people. When you post something on social media, you don't know for sure that it's going to be seen by the right people, and you don't know for sure how many people it's actually going to. Where with email, you have control over those things. So you can really tightly control who's getting the message. And if you craft it well and the right way, you can get exactly the response that you need. It's very, very predictable because you're controlling the distribution. Whereas in social media, it's some algorithm behind the scenes that's controlling the distribution.
Yeah.
So again,
it's an amazing thing. And, and the point I was getting to is, like, on a foundational level, you figured all this stuff out as like a one-to-many, and then really kind of on a premier level, where what I went through, where you had a writer interview me, all right? I mean, ask me all kinds of stuff, even up to, like, do I have any pets and what their names are, and then help you craft these messages in your own language, which I think a lot of the limiting beliefs around stuff. Well, I mean, first of all, we all know that doing something is better than nothing. Even the worst email newsletter potentially is going to get you something, right? It's going to be better than doing absolutely nothing. The very best thing is, not taking yourself out of it, is really being super clear on who you are, what you bring to the table, and being able to articulate and communicate that message to the masses. And we're all kind of unique and special, and some more special than others. But the thing is I think there's people they freeze up there. Look, this is something. Is it something to leverage off? You don't want to leverage off at 100%. You don't want to have somebody just write something for you. But if you can have somebody walk you through the process, think about how many great books you've read that were not written by the actual author, right? They have ghostwriters. Why? Because the author's got great stuff that they want to share, right? But they just getting it into a book so that it's readable, so that it conveys a message the best way, then they need to kind of get help in that. And that's what I really appreciate what you guys have done with your success team, and Kaylee, and just kind of having human beings to hold your hand and walk you through this stuff. And it almost feels like, I'm like, Kaylee, do I need to do anything? She's like, no, don't do anything yet. I'm like, 90, I got this thing. She's like, wait 90 days, don't do anything yet. I'm like, should I send out a broadcast text? Should I do it? She's like, no. Let it rock for 90 days. Don't touch it. Don't do anything. It's just been a fun process, and I appreciate what you guys are doing. Again, in a sea of CRM options, and they're all great. You don't give up your CRM, but just to be able to use this. I mean, I have somebody that just she has KV Core. It comes with her company, and I said, look, she's like, and she signed up for Happy Grasshopper, and she's like, how do I use this? How do I pick my 250 people? I said, go in your KV Core, make a tag, call it Happy Grasshopper, go through all your contacts, and add that tag, and it'll automatically go to your Happy. She's like, I don't even know how to do that. She's like, and then she logged into Happy Grasshopper, add contact. She's literally just adding them manually into Happy Grasshopper because she just wants it to be easier. But this is someone who doesn't do CRMs at all. She's so overwhelmed by it, but she's phenomenally talented. She's an instructor, and it's just a funny thing. It's the best tool is the one that you'll use, and the one that's kind of in alignment with who you are. So I think I appreciate what you guys are doing. It's really incredible. And just how often do you get the founder of a company? I was so happy when I reached out to you guys and I talked to Ben, and he's like, sounds like you need to talk to Dan. And I was like, Dan Stewart, really? I've been following this guy for years. It's a pleasure to have you in my world now. And I'm looking forward to this thing we're doing tomorrow. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the webinar series you've been doing? I know you're one webinar in last week, and there's 3 more to come in hours tomorrow. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, thank you. Happy to. So, you mentioned Ben and Kaylee, and you mentioned being able to get me. I mean, the thing that everybody needs to understand is that we're 100% self-funded, right? We're not owned by anyone. We haven't accepted any investment capital. We're not owned by a brokerage or a brand. This company is my personal labor of love, right? I am on a mission to connect the world in conversation. That is what I'm all about. So of course you can get me. Of course. I mean, it's very important for me to show up in that way. And this webinar series is another way I can really show up in a way that's powerful for people. I think every January we feel a tremendous amount of pressure to finally be awesome, right? Like, oh, it's a new year. Everything's magically going to be better. We're not going to be fat anymore, right? We're going to have more money in the bank. We aren't going to be lazy. We're going to have unbelievable discipline. Lead generation is just going to happen on and then mid-month, everybody quits. All those resolutions that get started just drift away. So this year, I wanted to assemble a group of amazing people to help everyone we have influence over to get through this weird month that we're starting the year with. So the first person we had was Dr. Mary Meduna Gross. And the reason we started with her is because before you start taking action and doing things, you have to get your mindset right. Why are you doing this? What's the whole point of everything? And Dr. Mary taught us 4 points that were extraordinarily helpful for resolving those inner conflicts. So if you've ever been at a point in your life where you run into a growth plateau, you've got a desire to break through it, and yet another year goes by and you just don't. Something internal has to change. So that's where we started. We're going to work on ourselves first. So we had a great session. Go ahead and register for the session with the link here now. You will automatically get a link to a recording where you can watch the previous session and catch up. The second session is with this really awesome guy named Chris. Might be on the screen here right now. So Chris, in my mind, is kind of the get stuff done guy. He's a ball of energy. He's massive action. He's go, 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 go. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. And yet, if we're doing the wrong stuff, it doesn't make any sense. So we've got Chris coming in to teach us about the 4 disciplines that we need to master to really achieve at a very high level. And then on January 25th, we're rounding out the coaching series with 2 of my absolute favorite people ever. We have Christy Belt-Grossman and Stephanie Brackett from Ops Boss Coaching. So let's follow this progression. We start working internally, right? Then we take massive action. We get a lot of stuff done with Chris's help. And then we've got so much going on. Well, operations, that's where we've really got to figure out, how do we put the systems and the process and structure in place to make everything work? So that's what this whole month-long webinar series is about. And I'm really privileged, Chris, that you're going to be part of it. Thank you.
Thanks for having me. And it's so funny. It's like just to hear somebody say that I'm the get stuff done guy and a massive action guy, because I really feel like I like to live small. And I came from a world where everything's like live big, and I'm like, nah, I just kind of want to work 20 hours a week. And but that's actually what brings us to this, because that's what the 4 disciplines of execution is all about. It's like about accomplishing more by being smaller, by saying no to some great ideas, because we can't possibly execute on all the great ideas we have. And we're going to go over that, and we're going to share some stuff. I'm going to launch a 5-day lead generation challenge after that. As a benefit of the challenge, everybody will get chirp with me to use during the challenge, because I think the biggest overlooked opportunity right now, the big push I've been making, kind of the end of this past year and all since really COVID, is getting back into your database, your Mets, the people that know you, cultivating the relationships we already have. I mean, I've had too many clients throwing money at Zillow and Realtor.com and all these leads, just turning and burning new deals, that they forgot about the people that they have. And like we talked about, Les, if you're not getting a 10 to 15% return on your Met database, there's an opportunity there. So what can we do? So we're gonna launch this 5-day challenge, where the first thing that we're gonna do, guess what? Day 1. Go back into your database, go and have those conversations, apologizing for not keeping in touch, find out how they want to be kept in touch with, how can you add value to their life? How can we add value to people after the transaction? And then we're going to talk about, crushing it. And then let's talk to for sale by owners and expireds and business to business, which is really often overlooked as well. So I'm excited for it. We're putting it together. I was having a good time putting together this PowerPoint presentation. Wanted to have something fresh. We've got some fun pictures in there. It's going to be a good time. The link is there. By the way, guys, we're live. If you have any questions, just feel free to ask some questions. I know if I were you, I'd probably have a question or two for Dan at the very least. Even though he is accessible, we have him now. So feel free to ask your questions. We can put them right up here on the screen. And we get like a lot of people watch this stuff on replay, and questions might come in the comments and whatnot. But I'm looking. This is a lot of stuff we got going on. What else? What else can we look forward to? What's on the horizon for Happy Grasshopper as a company and as an organization?
We're in a massive growth spike right now. It is just so amazing. There's that old saying that how do you become an overnight success? Like you toiled in darkness for a decade, right? So our company is 11 years old now, and we're getting interest from the largest international brands that are wanting to expand with us everywhere. It is so exciting. So I feel very blessed and fortunate to get to be working on this mission. And it's just a privilege to help people reach out for their goals in a way that makes them feel better about themselves and better about what they do. So many of us still carry around that baggage of, oh, they don't like me because I'm a salesperson, right? At some point, that's got to just be put away, and it's got to stop. And I think the best way to do that is to show up first as a human being in the lives of everyone you meet. So that's our big plan. Helping people do that at a higher level is really exciting for us.
That seems to be, you said in the beginning, you just realized when you got into sales, you needed to show up as a human being first. And it sounds, when you hear it, it sounds so elementary and so simple, yet I don't know if I've ever heard those combination of words fired in my direction in a business setting in my life, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that so weird to say, show up as you? Oh yeah, of course, show up as a human being first. Well, wait a second. When's the last time you heard that at some seminar?
It's so ridiculously basic and elementary, right? Because every sales organization in the world does the same thing. They're like, okay, let's work on our elevator pitch. Like, come on, let's get this honed here. We got to work on our elevator pitch. So the moment you meet someone, you're able to attack them with what you do and how you can help and pump them for leads. And it feels predatory and it feels wrong. And I think it robs you from owning your own innate value and the power that you actually have to make a positive impact in the world. This last 2-year stretch that we've all lived through together, it's been kind of a weird time, right? People don't want to be sold to. They don't need another person pushing a business card in their hand. They need someone to show up in a way that's authentic. And If we've got a moment, I got to tell a quick story about that.
Yeah, you see what John Manzi said. While he's on there, he said so many people are plastic and it's a turnoff. Now,
Yeah.
Dan, so John is the man behind the camera for Sky Limitless Media. He's my partner over there. Does all those
Awesome.
crazy videos.
Hi, John.
So isn't it? Even salespeople feel that, right? It's interesting. But tell us about this story. We got the time.
Yeah, quick story. So I was talking with a client of mine on Tuesday, and I asked her how things were going. She goes, "Oh man, yesterday I pulled in the driveway of someone for a listing appointment. I was really excited because inventory is really low. I'm going to get this listing." And as I'm in the driveway, I get a text from them saying, "I'm sorry, I'm so sick, I can't even come to the door." And, think about that. Imagine being that agent pulling in the driveway and getting that text. Like, you've set all these internal expectations of how it's going to go. You've prepped, you've practiced, you're prepared to have a great meeting, and then everything changes. So that's one of those micro moments where you get to decide what that means. I think a lot of people might have that occurrence and say, "Oh, this person isn't even serious about selling." Or, "Oh, I bet they have another agent that they're going to list with that they probably met with yesterday, and they just don't want to tell me to my face," right? Well, I think those are certainly things you could choose. It's also possible that you could choose this as a moment where the universe has decided you get to make a positive difference in that person's life, right?
Mhm.
So, you get that text in that moment. What if your reply, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm in your driveway. I'm going to go to the store and get you some chicken noodle soup. What else do you need?" Right? So
Yeah.
you buzz a few minutes away, you come back with some soup and whatever. If that person is ever going to sell their house, do you think they're going to sell it with you? Like, absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's show up as people first, especially in these weird times that we've all been living through.
Yeah, and it's there's always that thing. I mean, and kind of we've heard it, in leadership training. It's like, John Maxwell talks about. Look, if you help enough people get what they want, you'll always have what you want. And we hear that a lot. There's different intentions behind that, right? So it's like, but sometimes there's a very a selfish motivation behind it. And I mean, I even tell people like, I had a client the other day talking about they can't believe that somebody listed with somebody else. And after all this and that, and I did this and this and that for them, and I'm like, listen, you have to be okay with that. And would you not have done those things? Would you not have given that of yourself if you knew that it was not going to lead to business? And she was like, yeah, I would have. Well, listen, don't change who you are because other people sometimes are not that great, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's if that's who you are at your core, be that way, Yeah, I mean, look, you could do that, or you could just 10x everything you do. Whatever you're doing, just do it 10 times over again. Look, you choose. Nobody can take your ability to decide, your decision making capability away. We always have choices. We make those choices, and your business and what, in the end of the day, the results you produce is going to be a reflection of that. I mean, you ever meet people that are like, "Oh, I hate all my clients," right, Dan? You ever meet? I'm like, why do you hate what are you doing that you're attracting clients that you hate?
I have to say, knock on wood, I don't think I have a single one of those people. Like, we all make choices in what we put out in the world, and what we put out there attracts people and it repels people. And I think what Happy Grasshopper's done is it's repelling those kind of people. Like, that, gosh, it wouldn't be a fit with us at all. So I get it. I mean, I can certainly believe there's that kind of people out there, but I'm grateful I don't serve any of them.
There, I mean, that's why I went from running a huge organization, a lot of agents, staff, and everything, to when I got out of it, I said, I don't even want a staff member. You're like, Chris, why don't you get an assistant? I'm like, no, thanks. I'm not there yet. Believe me, I love creating opportunities for other people, but I kind of been ping ponging between these two worlds of like, I want to build an empire, or I want to give it all away, put it in a backpack, and just live in Fiji somewhere. That's it, So, and I'm somewhere in the middle.
Okay, all right. So
Yeah.
Why not both?
Well, exactly. That's kind of, and that's my coach. Consider that you can have both of these things, Chris. And I'm like, well, at different points in our life, we might choose something differently. But I'm really excited for what you guys got going on. I'm excited to be part of it. We have this thing tomorrow. Register. Once you register, by the way, like Dan said, last week's webinar was recorded. It's available to you. Get registered. Get on the list. We'll see you tomorrow in real time, live. It's going to have a lot of fun. It's going to be me and Dan. And then there's 2 more after that. and I intend to connect with them too. And we're gonna have fun. We're gonna interview them, and let's see if we can just kind of have little a little human a movement, a movement of humanity in the world of business.
Awesome. Well, thank you
Right?
so much for having me, Chris. I really appreciate it.
Pleasure.
And
We'll have to do this
I
again.
look forward
We
to
work
seeing
everything out.
everybody tomorrow for our session together.
Yeah, for sure. And if you have any questions after this, just post them on comments here. We'll make sure Dan gets them. And you're pretty accessible. We can find you on Facebook, Instagram, all the social media platforms, as well as in your nice, comfy office there with all the guitars and stuff behind you. It's a lot of fun. All right, guys. If there's no questions, we'll see you at the next one. Hopefully, we'll see you tomorrow. Peace out, everybody. Take care.